Chicago nights weren't just cold. They bit through your skin and settled deep in your bones. James knew that better than most. He'd been sleeping under the same viaduct for almost a year, clutching a worn-out backpack and a notebook full of half-finished ideas. That night, he sat huddled by a rusted barrel with a small fire burning inside. Just enough heat to keep his hands from going numb. Across the street, a man in a dark coat stepped out of a black car. Didn't look like he belonged in this part of town. James squinted. He'd seen that face before, on screens, in magazines, TED Talks. Elon Musk. James blinked hard. Was this some kind of dream? Elon walked toward the corner, checking his phone, waiting for someone. And then, out of instinct more than logic, James stood up. He grabbed his only decent blanket, frayed but warm, and crossed the street. "Hey," James said, voice hoarse from the wind. "You don't look like you dressed for Chicago." Elon looked up, startled. James held out the blanket. "Here, take it. You'll freeze out here." Elon stared at him, then at the blanket, then back at him. "You're giving me your blanket?" he asked, stunned. James shrugged. "You looked cold, that's all." Elon hesitated, then slowly reached out and took it. "Thank you," he said quietly. "Seriously." James nodded, like it was nothing. But it wasn't. It was everything. From across the street, a stranger had pulled out their phone and snapped a photo. By morning, the whole world would see what kindness looked like, one thread at a time. By 6:47 a.m., the photo had already been reposted 20,000 times. James, the homeless man with the outstretched blanket. Elon Musk, billionaire, accepting it with both hands like it was made of gold. The caption read, "Kindness still exists. A homeless man just gave Elon Musk a blanket. Let that sink in." James had no idea. He was back under the viaduct, sipping half-warm coffee from a gas station cup someone left behind, flipping through his notebook. On page 7, he'd written a sketch for a portable solar heater made from scrap metal. He didn't know Tesla's PR team was trying to identify him. He didn't know hashtags like Blanket Guy, Real Hero, and Warmth Wins were trending globally. He didn't know strangers had started GoFundMe pages in his name. Meanwhile, Elon sat in his office with his phone glowing. He'd barely slept. His inbox was flooded with articles, screenshots, text messages. But what stuck with him most wasn't the photo. It was James's face. Calm, unbothered. Like giving away warmth in a freezing world was the most normal thing anyone could do. "He didn't want anything," Elon said out loud to no one. His assistant knocked. "Media wants a statement. People want to know who he is." Elon shook his head. "We're not giving them a name." "But why?" He looked out the window. "Because that wasn't a stunt. That was real." Then he opened his laptop, paused for a second, and began typing. "To the man who gave me a blanket, let me return the favor." The first time Elon's team tried to locate James, they came back with nothing. "No ID, no shelter record, no consistent location," said the intern, scrolling through a map marked with red pins. "He's like a ghost." Elon stared at the map. "Ghosts don't give away their only blanket," he said. He shut his laptop, stood up, and grabbed his coat. "I'm going myself." 2 hours later, Elon was back on that same freezing block in Chicago. The wind bit harder today. The sky hung low and gray. He checked every alley, every tent line, every bench. Nothing. Then he saw it, across from the viaduct. A crumpled notebook lying beside a burnt-out barrel. He picked it up carefully. Inside, crude sketches, solar heater designs, compact shelter layouts, some pages filled with quotes. "If I stay warm, I build. If I get cold, I break. JL." He flipped to the back. One phrase, written over and over, "You build what the world forgot." That's when he knew. This wasn't charity. This was untapped genius. He held the notebook to his chest and whispered, "I'll find you, James." That night, Elon posted a tweet. "To the man with the notebook, come to the Tesla R&D lab in Chicago. Ask for me. We've got heat, coffee, and something bigger than a blanket waiting for you." Across the city, under a flickering streetlight, James saw the tweet on a stranger's phone. He stared at the screen for a long time, then whispered to himself. He remembered. James stood outside the Tesla R&D building with a backpack over one shoulder and his old folded notebook in his hand. He hadn't been this clean in weeks. A volunteer at the shelter had given him a fresh hoodie and a pair of decent boots. But still, he hesitated. Inside was the man from the street, the one who accepted a blanket like it was priceless. James wasn't sure if he belonged in a place full of machines, engineers, and people who didn't cross the street when they saw him. He turned to walk away. Then the security guard opened the door and said, "You, James?" James nodded slowly. "He's been waiting for you." The lab smelled like soda and coffee. Elon walked in, holding 2 steaming mugs. One he placed in front of James. The other he held but never sipped. "You came," Elon said with a small smile. "I wasn't sure I should," James replied. Elon gestured toward the notebook in his hand. "You build with scraps. You think in systems. You wrote code with no keyboard. Of course you should." James looked down. "I'm just trying to stay warm." Elon leaned forward. "Then let's build something that keeps other people warm too." He slid a keycard across the table. "Temporary badge. Access to the shop floor. We'll pay you, feed you, and leave you alone when you want. All I ask is, teach us what you know." James stared at the card. It didn't say charity. It didn't say pity. It said, "You matter here." And for the first time in years, James believed it. James showed up the next morning at 6:45 a.m., an hour before anyone else. The Tesla fabrication lab was quiet, except for the hum of machines in sleep mode. He ran his fingers over the aluminum panels, the tool racks, the bins of copper wiring. "I used to dream of rooms like this," he whispered. By the end of the week, James had already built a prototype heater using salvaged battery cells and a folding solar panel the size of a pizza box. "Self-sustaining," he explained to the team. "It works off 1 hour of sunlight, stays warm for 12. No one interrupted. They just listened. The engineers started calling it the blanket reactor. Elon watched from the mezzanine, arms crossed, smiling quietly. They offered James a desk. He declined. He liked the corner by the window, where the light came in just right around 9 a.m. He hung his old notebook on a nail by his workspace, open to the first page. "You build what the world forgot." It became his motto, and eventually, the company's. One afternoon, Elon approached with a box. James raised an eyebrow. "What's this?" Elon opened it. Clean clothes, a new laptop, a card that said, "Full-time R&D team member." James swallowed hard. "You serious? You're already leading the room," Elon replied. James laughed. "What do I call you now? Boss?" Elon grinned. "How about teammate?" They shook hands. No cameras, no headlines, no speeches. Just 2 people who saw value in what others overlooked. And as James returned to his bench, hands covered in graphite and wire dust, he realized he wasn't surviving anymore. He was building. 1 year later, winter returned to Chicago. Same streets, same wind, same frozen sidewalks. But this time, James wasn't sleeping under a viaduct. He was stepping out of a black Tesla van, wearing a warm company jacket with Tesla Community R&D embroidered on the sleeve. In the back of the van, 20 solar-powered heater units, 20 thermal blankets, 20 names on a list. James knew the spots by heart. He walked up to the first tent, gently tapped the flap. A man peeked out, shivering. James smiled. Name's James. Got something for you. He placed the heater beside him, turned it on. Soft warmth spread almost immediately. The man's eyes widened. This yours? James shook his head. Ours. At the last stop, he hesitated. Same corner, same viaduct, same barrel, now rusted all the way through. He knelt beside a woman sleeping under an old blanket. From his own backpack, he pulled out something wrapped in plastic. Not high-tech, not branded, just a blanket. The same one he had given away a year ago. Cleaned, mended, folded with care. He placed it beside her, then tucked a note in the corner. Someone once shared this with me. Now it's yours. Stay warm. Jay. Behind him, Elon stood with his hands in his pockets, watching silently. James turned, nodded. No words, just legacy. And as snow fell again over Chicago, a man who once had nothing left behind something that could warm the world.
If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share. Subscribe for more inspiring stories.